Okay, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome once again back into another episode of the Regular Guys NBA DFS show. I am David. We are back today in the dungeon, aka the only room in the house my wife lets me have as a recording studio. And we're back on a two-game slate here. Same two-game slate, really, that we've been playing for the last few days. So we'll see what we can get into here and break it down and hopefully continue our winning ways, at least on this slate. Played some Showdown last night. Really didn't go very well. I'm not a big Showdown player generally. I'm starting to think Showdown is one of those things where you might have to put in 20 lineups or just get incredibly lucky. But I put in a few Showdown lineups last night. Like I said, didn't really work out that well. So excited to get back into at least a two-game slate here where we've had a lot of success the last couple of times that these two teams have played. So if you do me a favor, guys, before we get started on the video, if you wouldn't mind if you would hit that like button down below. Also hit that subscribe button, click the little notification bell. That way you do get notified every time we put out new videos. And give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS. Put out some updates throughout the day if necessary, if I think there's any changes that we need to make to what we talk about here in the video. I put those out on Twitter. And you can also be entered into a $25 drawing, NBA DFS, or well, DFS dollars, doesn't have to be for NBA. Hell, use it for whatever you want. 25 PayPal bucks, basically, if you retweet the post that has the link to this video in it, or if you just leave a comment down below. Any comment will do. Hey, you suck. Hey, not bad. Hey, good picks, whatever. Just leave a comment down there, and you'll get entered into the $25 drawing as well. So, having said that, let's get into today's slate. And again, we've been playing this slate, really for the last 3-4 days when we've had two gamers. I think there's a couple of plays today that we can get into that I really like, and maybe it'll get a little bit different than some of the other lineups out there. We've scored over 300 points the last two times in DraftKings points with these with our lineups for this slate. So let's see if we can do it again. And I'm going to go ahead and just start off. Instead of doing a pick six, guys, like we had, but we're just going to run through a couple of lineups here since we're all basically playing the same players here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start off, and I'm going to play in my main lineup. I am going to play Joel Embiid. He's just been really good with the exception of one game. He's been one of the highest fantasy output players, overall for these slates. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in the main lineup. And then over at point guard, we're just going to go ahead and put Trae Young in as well. Trae Young coming off of a massive game. They're going back home to Atlanta. I think they smell blood in the water here because Philly hasn't been very good. Obviously, they blew that 26-point lead last time. Certainly, I think they'll be more comfortable at home. They're going to want to close this series out. So I can't see any reason why Trae Young won't have another good shooting night. We saw the bump in price on Paul George, all the way up to 10,100. Again, everything's going to run through George tonight for the Clippers. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but for the price difference of just a few $100s now, and in fact, George being more expensive, I'm going to go ahead and plug Trae Young in. Okay, another guy that I absolutely love today. I love this guy. And we'll see. Maybe it'll bite me right square in the butt. But at power forward, I think we're going to use him. Yeah, we're going to use him at power forward today. So let's click over here. And I'm putting Tobias Harris in at 7,700. Tobias Harris was absolutely awful the last game. 14 fantasy points. Scored 4 points. I think like maybe he didn't score in the fourth quarter, in the second half, maybe altogether. This is an elimination game, obviously, for the Philadelphia 76ers. Seth Curry went off in the last game. Tobias Harris, he can't stink this bad again if Philadelphia has any chance to win tonight. Basically, two guys scored for the Sixers in the last game, Joel Embiid and Seth Curry. We're going to have to get contributions today from Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons if Philadelphia has any chance. Now, I've heard two different schools of thought on this. I'm not sure which way I lean. Either Philly's going to come out fighting for their lives and Doc Rivers is going to come out, fighting to advance because he's taken a lot of crap here for what's happened, or that Philly's just going to go into Atlanta and lay down and it might not even be a close game. Obviously, we're hoping for the first, and I think they'll rebound here. I'm not saying they'll win, but I think you're going to get maximum effort and a much better effort, especially in the second half. That was amazing. Than we got last time. So at 7,700, his price has come down. I love Tobias Harris. He just simply based on the fact he can't stink that bad again, can he? So I expect actually a big game from Tobias Harris. I expect him to be very aggressive on both ends of the floor. Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully he rebounds with a huge monster game today. Okay, we're going to need some value. In fact, a lot of the rest of our slate now, if we're going to try and jam these three guys in at 4,200, is going to be value. One of the most popular value guys on the slate today is going to be Terrence Mann. All right? 3,200. He played, what was it? He started for the place of Kawhi Leonard, played 26 minutes, scored 23 fantasy points. He's a great play here if you want to put him in as a value. I totally understand. He's going to be extremely popular today because he's doing what everybody else is doing, what we're trying to do here. Get as many of our top-end scorers in as we can, and that means having to go to some really low-end value. Mann is great value today. I'm not playing him. I'm fading him and taking a chance. And again, guys, if you follow this channel, you know I take some chances. I take some chances in an effort to get different. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, frankly, we try and get a little too cute. But I'm going to put Luke Kennard in my shooting guard position. Luke Kennard, last game, he got 20 minutes. Now, he only scored 8 fantasy points. I get it. He hasn't been productive. However, I think that Luke Kennard will get more minutes tonight. I think he will get between 20 and 25 minutes tonight as him and Mann and Beverly kind of switch out in the rotation. Rondo got some minutes last time. So I'm willing to it's kind of weird when you're talking about fading value. But Luke Kennard is a good player, and he hasn't been productive in this series, but he has it in him. So I'm going to make... If you don't want to ride with this, I get it. Just put Terrence Mann in there, and he's the safe value play, and so many people will have him, and you just move on and take it. In fact, that's what we're going to do in our second lineup. We're just going to use Mann. But in this main lineup, I'm actually fading value here. And I'm going to give Luke Kennard a shot at 3K over Terrence Mann, who I know will be more popular. So, hey, it might work out, it might not, but I'm going to take the chance. So then at power forward, or excuse me, yep, see, this is what I knew. I knew I wanted Tobias Harris at small forward because another guy that's been value and has been pretty productive, I'm going to go right back to Gallinari from Atlanta. He's pretty much gotten a majority of the minutes with Hunter out, and last game played 30 minutes. 28 fantasy points, and then 2 games ago, 30 minutes, 20 fantasy points. At 4,500, hopefully he'll play another 30 minutes tonight. I don't know if we can expect 16 points every time, but he has it in him to score 16 to 23 points, which makes him a good piece of value at 4,500. And again, we're trying to fit Trae Young and Joel Embiid into the same lineup here. So that's what we're doing on this main lineup. And the second lineup that we make today, we're going to go a little bit more conventional. We're not trying to, jam as many guys in. But so that leaves me with 4,600. I came up with Joe Ingles. Now, again, this is all based on if Mike Conley does not play today. He hasn't played yet, so I don't have any reason to think he's going to play tonight. If Mike Conley would play tonight, you do not want Joe Ingles in this spot. You can go to another guy that I like very much, in Reggie Jackson. Now, I'm going to put him in the second lineup that I'm going to put up for you guys. I think Reggie Jackson's a really good play tonight. He's been playing huge minutes. Somebody else has to score besides Paul George. You know, Paul George had the monster game, and he's going to get a ton of usage again tonight. That's another reason that I'm willing to go to Kennard here. As we back up Kennard over Mann, I forgot to mention. Terrence Mann's going to start, which means he's going to be on the floor with Paul George, Reggie Jackson, you know, all the starters. There just isn't going to be as much usage for Mann as opposed to him coming off the bench. That's why I'm willing to take a chance on Kennard coming off the bench, playing with and against second teamers. I think he'll get more opportunity if he gets the minutes. We're just hoping that he gets the minutes. So anyway, in this lineup, I did land on Joe Ingles. He's been very consistent as a starter for Mike Conley. Again, Utah's facing elimination on the road. They're going to need a big game from Ingles and Donovan Mitchell and others. You see, I don't have Donovan Mitchell in here. Donovan Mitchell is questionable. I expect that he plays tonight, but the last two games, guys, he really hasn't been that good, and it's been obvious that ankle's been bothering him. So in this main lineup, that's why I went with Trae Young at a higher price over Donovan Mitchell, because he just hasn't been as effective as he was those first two games, and it looks to me like that ankle isn't getting better, it's getting worse. Our last two positions, we're down to about 4,200 if we play Ingles. So let's fill it out with Ingles. I'm going to go right back to a guy who has not been very good. I get it, for Atlanta. Him and Gallinari kind of been splitting up the minutes for Hunter since Hunter's been out. Huerter was just terrible. He scored 5 fantasy points. He didn't score in the game. Again, I don't have a problem going back to guys like this because I think that's kind of an outlier. I think that's kind of a one-off. Just like I'm not in a huge hurry to jam Seth Curry into my lineups. I don't see Seth Curry scoring 50 fantasy points back-to-back nights. If he does, I'll just take the L and move on. I think it was a bit of an outlier. In fact, I know it's an outlier if you look at his game log for Seth Curry to have 50 fantasy points. He's going to get very popular tonight. He's going to get an uptick in usage because of that performance, because of recency bias. I don't have a problem using Kevin Huerter and just assume that he's not going to go scoreless at home in an elimination game when he's still getting the 25 minutes or more, seems like every night. So he's getting the minutes. He had a bad game. I'm going to go right back to him. And that leaves me here then with Korkmaz, who's been starting for Philly. He hasn't been overly productive, but again, 27, 25, 29 minutes. 21, 18, and 15. Matisse Thybulle has got some more run in the last game, and then obviously you could go to him here if you wanted to, but Matisse Thybulle is just not a productive enough player for me. At least I think there's a possibility that Korkmaz, can get me 20 to 23 fantasy points if he has a good shooting night. Now, let's say that maybe Mike Conley starts tonight, or you just decide that Reggie Jackson is a better play. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I did struggle with this. If we plug Reggie Jackson into that, if we plug Reggie Jackson into the guard position, we are saving $300 for our last two spots. And that would allow us, I think we can still play Huerter. Yeah, it really doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't get us up to Batum at 4,900, so that's why I just went ahead and plugged Ingles in. We have no Utah in this lineup right now, so I think that's the way I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Because it doesn't really, that $300 really doesn't make a huge difference in your lineup construction. You still pretty much just land on Korkmaz as your last value play. So that's how we'll go ahead and leave it. With Huerter and Korkmaz in our last two spots, and this is going to be our main or our first lineup of the day. Trae Young and Embiid together with Tobias Harris, who I absolutely love and hopefully a huge game, from Joe Ingles, and maybe another big one from Gallinari would sure help a bunch, and hopefully Kennard getting the minutes off the bench. So, okay, I don't want to take up too much time of your time here, guys. I know you got other stuff to do. Into our second lineup, we're going to go with more of a classic build where we're not jamming as many studs in. In the second one, I'm still going to go back to Embiid. I'm going to use him because he's going to have a big game again tonight for Philadelphia to win this game and stay in the playoffs. Hopefully he paces himself a little better and doesn't get completely worn out and can score in the fourth quarter. Just crazy that happened. And along those lines, this guy can't be this bad every game. Okay, Simmons is struggling right now with his scoring, but I think it's good after what happened in the last game. I think it's going to become a focus for him. I'm okay going back to Simmons in a lineup because we know that if he has a good game, Simmons has triple-double upside. What game was it? This one right here where he scored 45 fantasy points. He's one assist away from getting the triple-double bonus. He has 45, 50-point upside. He's just struggled at times throughout this series. They've got to have Ben Simmons be better tonight than he was last game for them to advance. And with all of the attention and all the crap that Doc Rivers has taken and Ben Simmons has taken for their performances, I hope they don't just come out and lay down tonight and say, well, we didn't get it done again, and try and use excuses like Doc or whatever. I hope they come out with their hair on fire and these guys get way more aggressive and get back to playing how we know they can play. So I'll use Ben Simmons, and then I'm going to use Reggie Jackson in our shooting guard position. I love Reggie Jackson tonight. He gets the minutes. Again, plays big minutes. Somebody else is going to have to score besides just Paul George. Morris had a good game last game, and we're going to go to him right after this. We're going to put Morris in to our small forward position. He had a good game. Him and Jackson are going to play the minutes, and hopefully, because of the volume of minutes, they can put up big games tonight. Power forward, a guy that a lot of people have been avoiding. He's been lower owned. That's another reason. Let me just go back real quick to the first lineup. Trae Young hasn't been very high owned this series. As low as you can be for a 2-game slate. Everybody's going to get ownership. But Trae Young has not been at that high owned. Now, I don't know if his ownership goes up tonight because of the last game that he had and the fact that now that Paul George has jumped up to 10,100 as far as the pricing on DraftKings. But just keep in mind, Trae Young has been a little bit lower owned in the last few slates than I would have thought he would have been. But I think a lot of that was because of the pricing, and you could get guys like George and Mitchell for cheaper. And then you had Kawhi in there for a while too. But now that Kawhi's out in the game that Paul George put up, Trae Young looks like a better option just because he's cheaper than Paul George. So I really like this guy. I like going back to Collins. Throughout the season and really throughout the first round of the playoffs, he was a very inconsistent player. You never knew what you were going to get. You could get 15 fantasy points from him, or you could get 45. Well, I've gotten 30, 36, and now 40 from Collins the last 3 games. His ownership has not been very high either because of a little bit of an elevated price tag, I believe. But John Collins has been playing really well, and I don't have any problem going back to him, and hopefully he can get me another 40-point night tonight. And then this is where we talked about Mann earlier. We can put Mann in here in this guard position. You could also go to a guy like Lou Will. Lou Will got some run for Atlanta last time. I just don't trust it yet that he's going to get over 20 minutes again. But this Terrence Mann's going to be popular, guys. So, again, if you want to take a shot on a guy like Lou Will, he'll get more ownership tonight, or a Kennard, or maybe a Beverly, that he gets more minutes. Certainly be willing to take that risk. But the safer play, I guess, is Mann, just because he'll probably start again, and he probably at least will get the minutes, even though, how productive is he going to be once again in the starting lineup? it's kind of a crapshoot. So we'll put man in this one, and then we can go to another guy that hasn't had a lot of ownership. Now, I'm not chasing this guy. He had a huge game last game. He's only 5,900. He's under 6K, and this is what I've gotten from Bogdanovich from Utah. I've gotten 33 and 38 points from him the last two games. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's ankle is quite right, and the last two games, Bogdan has done a really good job of picking up some of that slack, scoring. I don't expect him to score 32 points again and go 9 for 17 from three-point land, but I expect him to make 4 or 5 threes. And if he can get a few assists and a few rebounds, he can certainly score between 35 and 40 fantasy points for us again. So I'm going to go ahead and put Bogdan in too. And again, his ownership has been pretty low. And then that leaves me with Seth, and we'll just hope that Seth has another good game. So I'll put him in here. I wouldn't have any problem going to Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal plays big minutes. But Seth Curry's been hot, but this is what I'm talking about. Seth Curry's game log. 33, 26, 24, 26, 51. 51's an outlier, okay? I don't expect Seth Curry to score 51 points again tonight, but it would be nice if he could score 30 or 35, and I'll take that chance in this lineup. But again, if you want to go to somebody like Royce O'Neal, Nicholas Batum, both those guys are going to get huge minutes. They're going to be less popular, again, than a Seth Curry. Tonight, Seth's going to get a lot more ownership because of the game that he put up. So anyway, guys, that's kind of my thoughts on tonight's slate. A couple of sleeper guys or different ways to go as far as value goes, and then putting some guys in that I don't think will be quite as popular, like a Collins and a Bogdanovich. And I love Tobias Harris tonight. If I put in 3 lineups, which I usually do, my third lineup is going to more than likely have Tobias Harris in it again, because I just think he's going to bounce back in a big way. If he doesn't, I take the L and move on. But if he doesn't, Philadelphia doesn't move on either. So that'll do it for today, guys, for the Pick 6 for the Regular Guy DFS show. Again, before you get out of here, please, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell, and give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS. You'll be entered into our $25 NBA DFS dollar giveaway. And if I put any updates out throughout the afternoon as far as lineups, maybe when we get news on Conley or something like that, you'll be sure to get those too. So thanks again for joining me. Good luck to all of us tonight, and we will talk to you again sometime this weekend, depending on what the slates are. I won't be making videos for Showdown, but the next 2-gamer we get, we'll talk to you again then, and hopefully it's after a really, really profitable night tonight. Thanks again for tuning in, guys.